Well, good evening to you all. So, this is our second Facebook Live of the lockdown. Each week we'll meet here 7 o'clock on a Wednesday evening to talk about one of our beers. And you've got the music there that gives you a clue, hopefully, to what our beer is for tonight. So, here we are. I don't know why it's back to front of the writing, I don't know how to solve that, I'm not too techy enough for that, but there is Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll is our beer for tonight. Okay, I'll just turn that down a little bit, still have it on the background. Alright, okay, so Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. Okay, I will open this up, and as I say, every week 7 o'clock we'll be enjoying one of our beers. Last week it was Mayflower Gold. This one, a freshly brewed Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. You notice the glass I've got this time is one of our glasses. Our little stem glasses hold just over half a pint, so we don't quite get a full bottle in there, but they're really good for tasting the beer there. I'll save the rest of that. Later, so if we look, here we go. One of our Billericay glasses, so we've got these for sale in the shop, so if you're getting a delivery in, then we can deliver one of these glasses as well. And we've got a nice pint glass as well, got a logo, got the name on there as well. So you'll see there is Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. It's an IPA, again same as Mayflower Gold, so a pale ale, India pale ale. And if you look, nice and clear, nice head on it. It's nice and fresh, but it's got a good condition on there already straight out of the bottle, which is good. So it's only been in the bottle for about a week now. We've had to brew it again because we were selling out of bottles so quickly. So Rick's done a great job of brewing that and bottled it last week, and it's ready to sell already, which is fantastic. So if you want some of those Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll bottles, then let's go. We were saying someone's asked a question there: are they vegan? Yes, our bottles are indeed vegan. If you have one of our polypins, unfortunately that's not vegan. We put a bit of isinglass in there, it's clear, but our bottles, no problem, they are vegan. Okay, right, so yeah, it's very nice. So I assume we'll taste it. First of all, yeah, we've already looked at the beer, we looked at the clarity of it, we looked at it's got a nice head on it. I should have said we actually first of all have an aroma, and being Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, being an IPA, you should have a nice sort of floral aroma to that, and I'll talk in a moment where that comes from. And then, of course, you enjoy the beer, so you don't be too pretentious about it. You just have a good mouthful of the beer. Okay, lets it go over the tongue. You get a nicely body feel to it, and you've got a lovely refreshing flavour to it. One of our most popular beers. It's 5%, so it's something that people perhaps wouldn't so much drink in a pub. It's very popular in our micropub, but it's a great one to drink at home at this time of the year. So great one to take away, and 5% is really good, satisfying beer. So again, it's got the good refreshment, it's got a lovely flavour as well. So if you use a lovely mouthfeel, nice bit of body with that 5% alcohol. There's a good bitterness to it as well as you drink it. And I'll talk about the aroma, the citrusy aroma to it. It gives a lovely flavour to it as well. So right now, why Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll? You hear that music playing in the background. When we started up a brewery in Billericay, of course, we had to have Billericay Dicky as a beer, and that's one of our first beers we brewed, and it's one of our most popular beers, Billericay Dicky. And it's we've found that the in-jury theme has brought us great inspiration for naming other beers. So yeah, started with Billericay Dicky, then we had Rhythm Stick, which again, one of the very popular brewers. Of course, I had to have a Clever Trevor, didn't I? We had one that we brewed with a blogger friend of ours, Jason Mason, called it Raisins to be Cheerful. Quite a rare beer, but a very special beer, but of course brewed with raisins. And then a few years ago, we had a visit from the Chelmsford branch of Camera. They came to do a brewery tour and visit the micropub. And the Chelmsford Beer Festival, someone was just coming up and they said, can you brew a beer especially for the festival? And they saw all our jury inspiration and said, we've got to name it Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. So that's where the name came from. And they wanted a 5% IPA, which we brewed. We thought it was just going to be a festival special. But it was so popular that it's carried on now, and it's one of our most popular beers. We brew it all of the time, so it's really excellent beer. It's been really popular. So, what else can I tell you about it? So, the main thing we want to talk about with this, and it brings on to talk on a little bit more about the beer, is one of the ingredients. Now, there's beer is made up of four main ingredients. Virtually every beer in the world is made up of four main ingredients. You've got the water, you've got the grain that goes into it, you've got the yeast that causes the fermentation, and then you've got the hops, okay? And people sort of identify that with the hops of the beer. A lot of people think, oh, you've got a lot of hops, it's going to be a strong alcoholic beer. Hops have absolutely no influence on the beer, on the alcohol of the beer. So the more hops you put in it doesn't make it any more stronger, doesn't affect the alcohol at all. Now, hops, I will show you. I've got a little bit of hops here. So that's hops, okay? So that's a little bit of a plant of hops. Now, they are a big climbing plant. They grow up to about 20 feet tall, climb up there every year. They're a perennial plant, so they grow that every year. So it's harvested every year, and then it grows up again, climbs to about 20 feet high. The traditional hops. There are some varieties now called hedgerow hops that are a bit shorter than that, but they still grow up to about 10, 12 feet high. But the classical hops grow up to 20 feet high. And if you look, these are actually the flowers, and it flowers in autumn time when the days get shorter. So if you don't get that shortening of the days, it won't flower. So you can't actually grow hops in the equator because you don't get that. That shorten the days, so they're a great thing to grow away from the equator, in the northern and the southern hemisphere. Okay, now so it's the hops that actually go into the beer, the flowers that go into the beer. Now, hops were first used in British beer around about 1,000 years ago. It's thought, and the hops were actually brought over. Story goes, it's brought over from monks from northern Europe, from sort of what's nowadays Netherlands, Belgium, northern France. They were using them already in their beer, and at that time it was the monks were the main people that are expert brewers of the beer. And originally they were actually used as preservative in the beer. And there's a whole other story about how beer was used because it was safer to drink than water. It kept for longer. The alcohol was actually a preservative, so it was safer to drink than water, which was full of bacteria and other viruses. Even though people didn't know about that, they knew that water out of a well or a stream was often very dangerous, made you very unwell. Beer didn't, so people used to drink beer because it was far healthier than drinking the water. But to make that bit, but eventually beer will go off. The alcohol in there actually ends up turning to vinegar. That's actually how vinegar's made. They actually take beer and deliberately make it off. But if you add hops into it, it keeps for a lot longer. So hops actually acts as a preservative. And with IPA, Indian Pale Ale, I think I mentioned last week, when beer was shipped out to India in Victorian times, the IPA was absolutely loaded with hops because those hops preserve the beer. Because nowadays, we like our hops because it gives the great flavour to the beer. It gives the real character to the beer. It gives the aroma to the beer. It gives bitterness to the beer. It gives lots of real character to the beer. And I always say that the hops are like the grapes that go into wine. The different hops create the great character of the beer. And nowadays, we're the same as with wine. People ask for sometimes like a Merlot or a Shiraz or a Chardonnay or something. Nowadays, sometimes people are actually asking for beer by the hops that are in there. And if you think of some beers that are called things like Mosaic or Citra, that's the name of the hop that's in them. So that's why. So the hop is really coming there. Now, hops, say they're grown about 20 feet high. Autumn time, they're harvested. These flowers. You can use those hops straight away in your beer. But mostly what happens when they're harvested, this one is from last year, when they're harvested, they're an amazing green colour, incredible green colour, and got an amazing aroma to them. But within a few days, they start going off, they start going mouldy. So what actually happens is they need to be dried almost as soon as they're harvested. And traditionally in Kent, that was done in the oast houses. Nowadays, they actually go through go into a kiln, and then they're dried off there. And then what happens is they're vacuum packed in a bag, and then this is what the hops look like that we use in our beer. So there they are. There's some hops used in the beer. That's one of the hops that's used in Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. I'll tell you about that, what that is in a moment. So that's what the hops look like when we put them in our beer. They're dried like that. They still got a lovely aroma. Oh, wow, yeah, gorgeous aroma there. It's a pity you can't smell them, but once the lockdown's finished, come for one of our brewery tours, and yeah, you can actually have a good old smell of these hops. And they're so then they're put in our beer. Now we put hops into the Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll 3 times. One for the sex, one for the drugs, and one for the rock and roll, we say. So, first lot of hops go in as the beer is being boiled up. Now, the hops get boiled up, and the hops in them have a thing called alpha acids. Okay, and their alpha acids you want to extract out of the hops by boiling them up, and that gives the bitterness to the beer. So they need to be boiled up for about an hour, and then that gives the bitterness to the beer. Okay, you then, at the end, when they're boiled up for about an hour, you then add a second lot of hops in there. The second lot of hops you add into there are called the aroma hops, and they give a lovely aroma to the beer. And then we give a third lot of hops, and these are real special ones. They're called the dry hops. It's a strange phrase, but they get added because they're all dry when they're added. But the dry hops, they're added when the beer's fermented, so it's not warm at all. So you get some really amazing aromas from that. So a lot of the popular IPAs nowadays, you have a lot of dry hopping on there, and that's where you get the amazing aromas in there. Now, the hops we use in Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll are all American hops. As I said, hops have to be grown away from the equator, but traditionally there in this country they're grown in Kent, they're grown in Hereford and Worcestershire, and still a lot of hops are grown there. It went downhill for a few years, but actually now the acreage being committed to hops is actually grown, which is a really good thing to hear from the British hop industry. But in recent years, the real popular and trendy beers have used American hops. The real sort of pale ales, American pale ales, the IPA, have used American hops, because they do give a lot of amazing citrusy aroma to the beer. And just as I said, with grapes, the terroir is important. With hops, the terroir is absolutely vital as well, and in particular the climate that they're grown in. So if you grow hops in this country, in the UK, we say it's a bit of a dim and damp climate. So, I mean, there's no sunshine at the moment, but we do get a lot of cloudy days, we do get a lot of rainy days. Now, in America, where they're grown, in Washington State, it's semi-arid. They get sunshine virtually every day of the year. They don't get much rain at all. They actually have to irrigate their crops. So that all year round sunshine is the thing that gives them that amazing citrusy aroma to them. Okay, so that's why American hops are so popular. The good thing is that actually a lot of the British hops are actually developing now some varieties of British hops that can compete with American hops, and I'll talk about one of those on another day, actually, one of those. So, but this one's got 3 American hops in there, and again, one for sex, one for drugs, and one for rock and roll. So we've got Cascade, it's called, Willamette, and Chinook. And Chinook is the one we've got here. It's got a lovely, amazing aroma, and they've all got sort of different citrusy type aromas to them, different citrus fruits in them that give that amazing aroma to the beer. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit more of this. Okay, now, someone asked, can you buy that? Yeah, we've got absolutely tons of bottles of that at the moment, so if you do want to buy that, you can buy it. We're not, the shop's not open at the moment, we're only delivering locally, so if you do want a local delivery, and local delivery can be Billericay, Basildon, Brentwood, Outside Southend, Rayleigh, Wickford as well. We can occasionally go up to Chelmsford, Ingatstone's not a problem, so yeah, local area is fine. If you want to order that, either send us an email with your phone number to sales@billericaybrewing.co.uk or phone us at the shop when we're open. We're open Wednesday to Saturday at the moment, and aiming to do deliveries on those days as well, Wednesday through Saturday. So we've got lots of bottles of this, and also if you want a polypin, a bagging box, we can do those as well. So if you want this actually real ale at home, 5 pint, 9 pint, 18 pints, we can do all of those as well. Okay, so that's the flavour that you get from there. That's the amazing sort of hops that you get from hops that give you that amazing flavour in there, that beer, that amazing aroma. Just enjoying that a little bit more. One of the things as well, we look at the bottle as well. It's a great thing, great pairing for any spicy food. Strange, the IPA goes great with the Indian food, much better than your Cobra any day. It really brings out the flavour as well. So it can be a great beer to go with if you've eaten any spicy food. It's a great combination to go with that. I think I'm cooking a vegetable chilli tonight, so I don't think this is going to last until the vegetable chilli is ready, but it would be great. It'd be a great beer to go with that as well. So fantastic for that as well. So yes, your beers can go with your food as well. Sometimes better than a wine can do. Definitely for spicy food, I'd say a beer far better. A good IPA is far better, I'd say, with a curry or any spicy food than any wine, I'd say. Okay, so let's say enjoy the beers. Okay, great to see lots of your comments saying people love the beer. It is one of our most popular beers. It's got a great following there, and people do love that beer. And looking next week, we'll be doing a different beer next week, something totally different. We've had 2 IPAs now, so I think I'll have to go for something totally different next week when we do the beer. But I'll try to feature a beer that you can actually get that week. So I think next week, we're just brewing this week. We've just bottled today some Billericay Dicky, so that's again one of our favourite ones. And also this week we've bottled some Woody's Bark as well. So 2 very different beers. So I think it'll probably be one of those, but we'll wait and see. So remember, if you want to order some of our beers, phone us through the shop 01277 500 121. You can buy a mixed case online, or you can just send us an email and we'll get back to you and arrange a delivery date. Okay, so all I can say is stay safe, stay healthy, stay at home and drink beer. Cheers.